Once upon a times, there was a guard for a office building. He he had always walked past that office building growing up. He always wondered what was going on in there. And he always wished he could be a part of the businessmen that he saw walking in there each day. And as he grew up, he tried to become a part of that, but unfortunately failed due to lower status, lower financial incomes, and different types of things like that. He wasn't able to become a part of this business. He wasn't able to work in there with the other corporate guys. And so he settled with becoming a security guard for the company that ran security in that office building, and he would guard it at night. He would sit in the lobby all night and try to stay awake. And in the mornings, he would be greeted by the office workers, and that was enough for him. He felt like a part. But he never told them that he had wanted to work there so badly. He never informed them of that. He kind of kept it to himself and just allowed himself to be a part, naturally flow with that corporate sector. And as time went on, he began to long more and more to be a true part of this business. He wanted to work with the big guys up top. He wanted to go to the other floors. And so he got to business. He used his money that he made from security to buy a laptop, and he started working on office tools, trying to, make himself a better option for these guys hiring. Without the college, without the financial aspects of what it takes to become better in the recruitment process. So, he got on fucking YouTube and looked up how to use Word, how to use Excel. He bought the Microsoft products. He learned what he needed to learn, and eventually he became ready to take on that office role. So he applied for one of the lower positions in that office building, which was a project assistant. So basically he'd be filing papers, scheduling meetings, updating calendars, keeping deadlines with the other workers, things of this nature. And he was excited. He was hella excited. So he went into the office, he walked up to the boss and he said, boom, there's my resume, here's what I can do. Can I have a job? The boss took one look at him, one look at his demeanor, one look at the concentration in his eyes, and he said, you know what? Come on aboard. Come on aboard. We want you here. I know you haven't worked an office role, but I've seen you working here, security. You look like someone I can trust. So he let him on aboard, and all of those dreams that he had growing up came to light, came to fruition much later than he expected, but they did. They came to fruition, and he was just one of the guys. All right. Now, when he was working security, he would see a girl that would come in the mornings, and he didn't know which floor she went to, but he would see her, and he found her very attractive. He never spoke to her. He felt that was out of his role, but turns out she worked in the floor where he got hired. So now that he's working up there, now that he's completing normal everyday corporate tasks and building relationships with the other workers, well, he now had an opportunity to talk to this woman, and he was nervous. One day he came up to work and sat down his things, his briefcase, sat down in his cubicle, and he thought about her, and he kind of hunched up, looked over the cubicle, and he saw her over by the water fountain, and he thought, okay, now's my chance. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to do it. He stood up, he walked over to the water fountain. He said, hey, Katie, how's things chopping? And she said, chopping like wood. And he smiled. He said, you know, I haven't worked here long, but I've admired your hard work and your dedication to the company. And she said, yeah, I really, whoa, what kind of plane is that? Some kind of fucking bomber, nigga. Nah, it's just some guy's private jet. He said, I really admire the way that you work for this company so diligently, and the dedication, you know, like I've heard that you've been with this company for a while. I really admire that. And she said, yeah, I really appreciate that. It's not often people compliment those types of things. Normally people want to talk about how pretty I am. And they shared a laugh. And he said, all right, well, I'll see you soon. He went back to his desk and he felt pretty good. He felt like that went pretty good. You know, he didn't overstep his bounds. He didn't say anything weird. He kept it reserved, and he just complimented her on things that were good natured. And he hoped that she really took notice to that. And days went by, and he didn't speak to her again, just out of a little bit of anxieties, nerves. And he noticed that she hadn't been into the office for a couple days. And he thought to himself, where is she? Where's she been? It worried him a little bit because, like he had said, she was a very diligent worker. She didn't miss days, and she wasn't scheduled to be out. So he ended up getting her phone number from one of the guys and calling her up to see if she was okay. He just wanted to check on her. He felt that wasn't too weird. They were, you know, employees, co-workers. So he called her up, and she told him that she had became pregnant from a one-night stand, and the father was nowhere to be found. Oh shit. There was some kind of bug on my wrist. Ew. And the father was nowhere to be found. And she was embarrassed, but because he was so new at the company, he felt like she felt like she could tell him this. And he said, hey, well, if you need company during this time, let me know. And she said, yeah. She stopped him. She said, yeah, could you come over after work? And he said, yeah, of course, I'll try to get out a little early. He ended up getting over to her place around 9 p.m. It was a late day at the office. He wasn't actually able to get out early. So he got over to her place around 9 p.m. And he walked in, and she sat him down. She had a bottle of wine, and they just talked. You know, they didn't flirt or, you know, all that childish bullshit. They just talked, you know. She told him what was going on, and she told him how she felt. And it was just that new character in her life that allowed her to open up to him. That new forming of a bond that allowed her to open up. It was like a fresh set of ears, and he loved that. He loved being that guy for her. And he also felt for her. He was listening attentively, and he was an empathetic guy, but something about this girl, and I guess the attraction he felt towards her, just increased that empathy. He wanted her to be okay. He felt for her. He wanted her to succeed in life. Genuinely he wanted that. So it hurt him a bit that she was going through this rough time. And it also hurt him that a guy would go and do something like that. But of course the blame isn't always on the guy. I mean, when a woman is going out there, putting herself out there, letting people be in there, you know, she has to deal with the consequences as well. You can't just abort everything. And so he let her talk. He didn't make any moves. He didn't flirt. He didn't, you know, do any of that. They just chatted, and it was a good night, and he went home. Just, you know, they chatted, and he was on his way out the door, and she stopped him. She said, spend the night. I just don't want to be alone. All right. So they slept on her bed, and nothing crazy happened. They just fell asleep together. And about midway through the night, he opened his eyes to see that she had clung on to him. You know, she was just wanting his protection, his security, his warmth, his strength. Um, I think that women have forgotten that the things that they want are already here. And I think women are chasing the wrong things. I think what women want, whether they realize it or not, is protection and safety and comfort. Feeling as though there is no rush. There's no rush. There's nothing that needs to be done right now. You know, my man is taking care of it. I think women have forgotten that entirely, that that's the good part of life, is finding that man who cares about you and is never going to leave you. The you know, and it's not entirely their fault. I mean, we've just got shitty dudes out here that will leave a woman, and that's just not in our true man's nature to leave a woman. And I don't know, I think men have become pussies, and they say, oh, you know what, I want a different girl, and move on to the next one. It's bullshit. It is. It's kind of a womanly thing to say, oh, I'm tired of my girl and I want to move on to a new one. No, as men, we find a girl that we like, and we say, all right, I'm sticking with this one until I die. It doesn't take much, you know. She's got a pretty face and she's quiet and nice, and that's just about all it takes. And unfortunately, I think men have just been doing a shitty job at being men, and it's in turn created women who just don't realize that what they want is kind of just right here. It's a man. And so they chase other things. They chase success and money, attention from multiple men, from God knows how many men. But what they need is just a guy to cling on to in the middle of the night and not worry that he's gonna leave. And that's what men were. It's what men are, you know? It's men, not boys, not fucking fags. I think it's gotten all twisted up. The roles got twisted up, and in turn, everything else has been twisted up. I mean, none of the jobs, none of the places, none of the organizations would be here without people, without each individual person. And so the fact that our roles as people have gotten fucked up just means everything else is going to get fucked up. I mean, that's just the most primal part of being a human, is that one-to-one relationship where you create a bond and you create a child, and you stick together, you know, like penguins. I've heard people talk about how that wasn't like always a thing, like, you know, back in the day, like cavemen or whatever the fuck, hunter-gatherers, they didn't have wives, they kind of just like, you know, made babies or whatever. But I mean, we progressed past that, and I think just because cavemen did one thing, I don't think that necessarily means that it's our human nature just to do everything that cavemen fucking did. Okay, there's more to human nature than just what the cavemen did. There's godly principles that govern who we are as humans, like the one-to-one relationship that creates a marriage, a bond, partnership, and it's becoming lost. It's not just women's fault. I think I got stuck on believing that it was just women have become bitches, but I don't think it's necessarily that. I think we've all just kind of lost the plot to the point where guys are like, dude, I think I'd just rather be single. Dude, the whole point of being here is to find a partner. Where are you gonna go? You gonna buy a car? You gonna go on some nice vacation and look at a beach? With who? You just gonna sit there and look at it? Nah, it'll hit like a fucking cannon. When you're sitting there with all your money, with all your time you stacked up, nobody to share it with, bro. It's a part of being a man. It's having somebody to share it with and never leaving. Keep that in mind, young bucks. Keep Jesus Christ in your thoughts and that future woman. Keep her there in a little bubble with a question mark on it as to who it is. You know, we don't know who it is, but she's there. God will provide. I'm saying this to myself. God will provide.